Happy Monday and welcome to your Mental Health Mini. This week's guest is Michele Rosenthal, and we are talking trauma recovery. What do you wish people knew about trauma recovery and healing from PTSD?
Here's the number one thing, and it's the thing nobody ever told me. Trauma recovery is not a conventional process. It is an integrative process. So not a single person heals PTSD in talk therapy. This is like a fact. We are a culture that thinks so highly of conventional therapy that I feel that all too often people get stuck there. Neurologically speaking, the more you tell your story, the more you are strengthening and embedding and activating your trauma neural pathways. And yet that's what talk therapy teaches us to do. Now, I think it's immensely important to be able to put words and language to your feeling and your experience. It's incredibly important to be able to speak it and get it out of your head and into the world so that there's distance between you and that. But there is a time and a place for that. Then you need to move on because trauma affects every part of who you are. So in order to do that, you really need an integrative path that addresses the physical because your body holds the memory of that trauma, even if your body was not involved in it. You know, what do I mean by that? Emotional abuse. You might say, well, nobody ever hit me, so I wasn't abused. Not true. Not true at all. All abuse is physical abuse because your body is taking that energy in and creating a physiological response to your experience. And that encodes in the memory of every cell. I remember I went to the trauma conference in 2009 in Boston with Dr. Bessel van der Kolk. And I remember him saying in one of his lectures that the number one leading cause of PTSD in children was neglect. And I remember being surprised. But when you think about it, it was really about a lack of safety. It was like the essence of the lack of safety. You don't know where your next meal is coming from. You don't know who's going to take care of you. That's what neglect really is. So every trauma is physical, every trauma is emotional. So I think it's really important for people to start thinking about PTSD recovery as an integrative process. It's not about being alternative or conventional. It's about being integrative. So you have 4 steps of trauma recovery. Step 1 is denying that you need help. Step 2 is admitting you need help. Step 3 is knowing you need to do the work, but not wanting to do it. And step 4 is actually doing the work. But I think once you get into it, immediately you need to establish a sense of safety and control. Everybody says that. That having been said, I don't think that's always the first step. I don't think you can necessarily create a sense of safety and control right off the bat. Yeah. If you have symptoms that are out of control, you're not going to just sit down and be like, oh yeah, I can create a sense of safety right now. So to me, the most important thing to do when you decide to get help is to follow what feels right to you, not what everybody else thinks you should do. And I'm not saying to disrespect anybody. I'm not saying to discount other people's advice. I'm saying that the better you feel, the faster you'll heal. So you better do it in a way that feels congruent and aligned with who you are. We are all alone and unique in our trauma experience, and we are completely unique in our recovery process. There is no such thing as one size fits all. But in the middle, we're all universally the same. That PTSD, that trauma experience, completely the same. Now, that doesn't mean that I have as many flashbacks as somebody else or that they have as many recurring nightmares as I did. What it does mean is that the feeling, the depression, the fear, the terror, the lethargy, the overwhelmedness, that's the same. And I think the biggest point is to let people know that they're not alone, that they are completely normal in what they're experiencing, and that there is a way out. And they just have to find it and find the people to help them, which is not a straight path. You know, my mom called my trauma recovery a long and winding road. Like a lot of times you couldn't see around the corner and it looked grim. Mm-hmm. But eventually, if you keep going, you'll find your way out. It's there.
If you enjoyed this week's Mental Health Mini, you can listen to the full episode. It is episode 92 featuring Michele Rosenthal. A link to the full episode is in the show notes. As always, make sure to leave a review, subscribe, share with a friend or family member, and follow @She Persisted Podcast. Thanks for listening.